All right, greetings. Welcome back to Blackbird News, where everything is connected. I'll guess we'll just leave the mic right there. How y'all feeling? Good to see you. Thanks for being here. Gene edited lettuce, Denver, from from Tel Aviv. Is that kosher? Yeah, it doesn't sound like the cure-all it's supposed to be. But all these magnificent, super great technologies being used for only the best things. What's up, people? How you doing? Thanks for being here. Yeah, the moment I learned about CRISPR, I was like, "Oh boy, this is not good. This is not going to be good." Although, I suppose to some people it looks promising. As usual, there's a lot of stuff. This is from Substack. Stackety stack, don't talk back. Um, I've been kind of hanging out a little more on Substack. I'm still trying to figure out some parts about it. I don't know. People who are more familiar with Substack, I have a couple of notes that I've posted and I cannot find them. They've like disappeared. I've seen other people have the same question. Anybody more familiar with Substack than me know where I can find my dang notes that I wrote on Substack? Because I just cannot seem to find them anywhere. They seem to have disappeared. Um, and maybe I'm just not hip. Just not hip to the ways of Substack. But I am looking forward to Friday's live stream. And we are still on for a Substack only live stream on Friday. It makes me not want to post notes if I can't ever see them, or if I can't get back to them to go like, what did I do? I don't know, man. But otherwise, it seems like everybody's going to Substack now, which to me is a wiser choice than like a Blue Sky. I say that with disdain because why would you go to Blue Sky when it's run by the guy that used to run Twitter? Maybe Blue Sky is the greatest. I don't know. But you're running from one CIA controlled platform to another CIA controlled platform. And thinking that you're escaping some kind of overreach. I mean, I think mainly people are going to Blue Sky because they want to be in their little liberal bubble. Because they're like, oh no, there's too many right wingers over here. I got to go over here where I feel safe. And I don't have any other opinions other than the ones that align with mine because my brain is weak. And people tend to do that anyways, but I just don't know why you wouldn't want to ever see an opposing opinion or anything, I mean, that's what Facebook is for. Let's read this. Brace for impact. I know I've I know that I've already pissed off a few. But I'll say it again. One of the best pieces of advice I ever saw or got from somebody was, why don't, you know, unfollow or unsubscribe. Why would you unsubscribe or unfollow somebody with a differing opinion? Like, you want, that's what makes things, grow. Um, but apparently Substack is less censorious or not at all. Apparently, this is what I hear. I hear that Substack does not censor, predominantly. So I support that. That's why I'm doing a live stream there. That's why I'm trying to get everybody over there and get kind of used to the platform so that I can kind of maybe do more stuff over there. Um, X still seems to be the place where a lot of people are at. Um, I'm not going to Blue Sky. I'm not going to Threads. I don't know why you would want to. They're just more of the same. They're just more of the same in the end. Brace for impact. The crash is coming. It may make 1929 look like a warm up round. I don't think I'm going to read this whole thing, but we'll read through a little bit. The United States stock market is atrociously overvalued, and to make matters worse, the country is gearing up for a global trade war, the likes you've never seen before, spearheaded by the convicted felon who proudly proclaims that he knows the art of the deal. We are supposed to applaud the pressure tactics, which will soon isolate us from former allies. Well, that's a you could dive into that a little more, but I mean, Saudi Arabia was no fan of Biden, and Saudi Arabia is supposed to be our petro ally. And so this whole thing about how, everybody hates Trump. This is a very just kind of stock liberal talking point. That's not true. In other parts of the world, that's not necessarily true. But that's not a defense of Trump. That is just not true. I'm just stating that's just not true. Spearheaded by the convicted felon who proudly proclaims he knows the art of the deal. But be that as it may, Alia Iacta Est. I don't know how the die has been cast. The die have been cast, and the events that will unfold are outside of our control. Alia Iacta Est is attributed to Julius Caesar, who said it on January 10th, 49 BC. Caesar said this as he led his army across the Rubicon River in northern Italy, which marked the start of a civil war. The phrase conveys the idea that once the die is cast, there's no turning back. Unfortunately, we're missing the et brute part of the equation. Before you dive into this article, if current trends continue without substantial intervention, a recession is highly probable by mid to late 2025, followed by a deep depression in 2026-27. The severity of the destruction will depend on policy responses, corporate reactions, and global economic shifts. Suffice to say, presently, none of the reactions are adequate. On the contrary, it's almost as if they want to sink the United States into irreparable harm, thus preparing now is critical. And there's, that's a widely held belief by economists all across the board in all circles that we are headed towards a recession or a crash of some kind. There are mixed opinions about what Trump is doing with the tariffs. It seems like there are, and we'll get into it because I'm not going to read all of this. Seems like they're trying to be creative about, all kinds of things in order to gain some leverage against the impending recession. There's the crypto reserve idea, being put out there. There's the buy citizenship to the U.S. idea being put out there. There's tariffs. There's all kinds of things going on. Is this going to keep us from going down the proverbial drain? I don't know. Suffice to say, presently none of the reactions are adequate. The looming economic catastrophe, why this recession could eclipse 1929. I believe I've heard it said several times that the economic inequality is worse than it was in the Gilded Age, although, overall wealth is, overall people are way wealthier, and the general standard of living, especially in Western countries, is much higher, and even, poor people of today, live with, modern conveniences and access to all kinds of things that, people did not have, like, back in the Depression, right? So there was a huge wealth gap, but the wealth gap meant the difference between, I mean, yes, there are lots of homeless people, absolutely. But even homeless people nowadays have access to services and food and, all kinds of things that homeless in 1929, did not have. And people did, seriously starve to death back then. Um, it's not saying that it's great though, because apparently they want us all to be homeless. If inflation keeps going as it is, and wages keep going as they are, and job losses keep going as they are, we're all going to be homeless eventually. Financial world is already preparing. A storm is brewing in the global economy, and the United States stands at the epicenter of what could be the most devastating financial collapse in modern history. Collapse that is set to surpass the stock market crash of 1929. The signs are all around us: a wildly overvalued stock market, an AI bubble teetering on collapse, and a financialized economy detached from real production. The difference between 1929 and 2025 is how intricately, almost exactly 100 years, intricately the systems are woven, the interdependence and the inflated market position of publicly traded companies. If history has taught us anything, it's that unsustainable economic euphoria always ends in catastrophe.
Of every Wall Street is bracing for a stock market crash starting tomorrow morning because of Donald Trump's tariffs, which are going to increase the cost of everything. In January, investors placed 10 times more bets against US stocks than on their success. Why? Because they see what's coming. They know these tariffs aren't just a tax on foreign goods, they're a tax on American families, businesses, and workers. And now Canada and Mexico are hitting back. These countries are some of our biggest trading partners, buying billions of dollars worth of American goods. But with Trump's tariffs in place, they've retaliated with their own, making our products more expensive abroad. That means fewer sales, fewer jobs, and more economic pain for American workers. This is what a trade war looks like. And let's be clear, trade wars don't have winners. The rich and powerful will be just fine, but everyday Americans, the ones who buy groceries, pay rent, and rely on stable jobs, will be the ones who suffer most. Donald Trump isn't making America great again. He's making everything more expensive, more uncertain, and more unstable. And if we don't stop this reckless trade war, it won't be the CEOs or hedge fund managers who pay the price. It'll be you.
All right. Okay. Very scary. And, you might want to take some of that to heart. Um, yeah, it is interesting that it's only a 10% tariff on China. Yeah, it is interesting. Also, 10% tariff on energy coming from Canada. So, um, most goods and services are taxed at 25% or more, but energy is 10%. So, there's that. Got to keep the energy coming. The biggest bubble in history. We've seen bubbles before: the 1929 recession, the dot-com crash of 2000, and the 2008 financial crisis, but today's economic environment dwarfs them all. The Buffett indicator, a key measure of stock market valuation that compares total market capitalization to GDP, currently sits at 208%. For perspective, the dot-com bubble peaked at 130%, while 1929's market crash preceded an 80% ratio. These numbers suggest that we are far beyond mere overvaluation. We are in an era of financial insanity. Well, adding fuel to the fire, the price to earnings ratios of major tech stocks have reached historically unsustainable levels, mirroring the frenzy before the dot-com collapse. Financial experts and Wall Street insiders Typically, the last to sound the alarm are already unloading their holdings. Musk, Zuckerberg, Bezos, and Warren Buffett have been dumping billions in stock over the past 2 years. They know that the market is running on fumes. Most of them are traditional investors outside of the high-tech artificial intelligence bubble. The AI bubble is already deflating. And we know this. Anyways, that's it. That's all I'm going to read to this because I want to cover some other things. But I want to show this post from Seven Seas. So yes, all of this is probably true. All of this is coming. This is probably why they want Trump in place right now to oversee something like, I don't know what you want to call it, a great reset or a jubilee or, just a crash where everything bottoms out so heavily that they are, they're ready to put another system in place. And they probably already have things lined up, like a CARES Act, not unlike a CARES Act, right? In order to throw people a lifeline when the crash comes and have everybody go like, oh my God, just stop the pain, stop the bleeding, stop us from feeling, this overwhelming dread and misery that we don't want to face. And part of that is like a digital infrastructure. Part of what they might be planning to put in place is a, a surveillance social credit score, technocratic panopticon, the whole, I don't know what else to call it. It's got a lot of names. Yes, Denver, they're ready to switcheroo to digital money control grid. I mean, everything is there. If you think about it, they're already trying to, drive us to a cashless society and that's part of it. More and more I see places that don't accept cash and tell you not to bring cash and just, um, they're gearing people up for this kind of a thing, selling it as convenience or ease. But when you can't use cash and you can only use digital and they can track everything that you're doing and ultimately be able to switch on and off what you're doing, right? Because along with there's already a digital infrastructure in place. There's already cryptocurrencies, blockchain, Venmo, PayPal. They all have their PayPal has its own crypto. All of these things are in place, and we've already seen that people who go against the narrative or people who are upsetting the apple cart of the right, people who buck the system, people who are out there vocally resisting, get kicked off of the digital platforms. They get censored, they get shunned, put in digital gulag, or digital gulag is where we're all going to end up, but they get put in digital solitary confinement or something like that. I don't know. Back on the blockchain, yeah, that was a big hit for them. It was good song. Vivek Ramaswamy calls for putting every public expenditure, state, county, and municipality on the blockchain, which would allow the public to track these payments in real time. Wow. Sounds great, right? That's the end of corruption, isn't it? Yeah. Not so fast. 7C says, I've been saying this was coming, but people just tell me I'm crazy. Everything everywhere will eventually be on blockchain. And it won't be for freedom or transparency. It will be for control and only control. And I'm betting that the same people that get away with the money laundering now, the same people that use all of your tax dollars and all of these project funds, and Ukraine funds and Israel funds for their big money laundering escapades, I'm betting that they'll be able to get around this I can see you blockchain technology, right? Begin setting up local networks for trading commodities now. This is great advice from 7Cs. Begin setting up local networks for trading commodities now, because eventually you won't have the opportunity. Larry Fink is so excited for this, meaning you should not be. All of this falls into the bottom of my model. Crypto is a scam. I mean, in the eventual, it will be a scam. Over the last few years, it has been a boon to many, and it could be a boon. It still could be a boon. It's not, the technology is not a scam. The technology is real. Just like the internet is not a scam. The internet is real. The technology is real. People use the technology for, beneficial things. The scam part comes in when they rug pull everything. The scam part comes in when they, tell you they can see everything that you're doing. The funny thing about the internet to me is that the internet has always, always, always been the TVs that can see you in 1984, right? Remember in 1984, they had TVs that could go both ways, could look at you while you were looking at it. I mean, the internet is basically that. And it can do some really powerful and wonderful things. But at its worst, it's the TV that can see you from 1984. It's Big Brother is watching you, basically. You're getting robot vibes. Okay. Let's keep going. One of the things that they're trying to roll out to boost economic activity in the US and bring, wealth to the US and raise funds in the US is this gold card, which is like a green card, but you pay $5 million for citizenship to the US. And I didn't know this about it until today, that you would pay zero tax on foreign income. So if you're from somewhere else and you buy your citizenship, you will pay zero tax on foreign income. You still pay tax here. A foreigner earning $10 million abroad in Dubai or Monaco pays zero tax at home. If they want U.S. residency, they normally owe up to $3.7 million a year in U.S. taxes. Now, Trump's gold card completely flips the script. For $5 million, ultra wealthy foreigners can buy U.S. gold card and still pay 0% tax on foreign income. This isn't just a visa. It's going to be the ultimate billionaire's tax hack. For decades, the U.S. citizens on every dollar, the U.S. taxed citizens on every dollar earned worldwide. Live abroad, still taxed. Own offshore wealth, still taxed. Renounce, pay an exit tax. No escape until now. Trump's gold card rewrites the rules. Pay $5 million once, get U.S. residency. 0% tax on foreign income. They won't have to pay tax from where they came from, but they have to pay tax and create jobs. Meanwhile, middle-class Americans still paying full global tax, not to mention the tariff tax, right? The new tax on top of inflation, the inflation tax, they're going to pay the tariff tax too. That'll be great. The ultra rich get a new loophole. The U.S. gets a fast cash injection. Brilliant, unfair, or both?
With that goal in mind, we have developed in great detail what we are calling the Gold Card, which goes on sale very, very soon. For $5 million,
no, I don't think,
we will allow
they take
the
any
most
tests.
successful
Zaliba, the
job-creating people
test
from
is
all over
you
the
got $5
world to
million,
buy a path to U.S.
you pass.
citizenship. It's like the green card, but better and more sophisticated. And these people will have to pay tax in our country. They won't have to pay tax from where they came. The money that they've made, you wouldn't want to do that, but they have to pay tax, create jobs. They'll also be taking people out of colleges and paying for them so that we can keep them in our country instead of having them being forced out. Number one, at the top school, as an example, being forced out and not being allowed to stay and create tremendous numbers of jobs and great success for a company out there. So while we take out the criminals, killers, traffickers, and child predators who are allowed to enter our country under the open border policy of these people.
Okay. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. So you're saying people with $5 million are not drug traffickers, predators, or killers? Tell me more. Go on. This guy had a great response to this, though. This is a pretty. I love this video, and I don't know if there's a way to actually work this out, but how about y'all? Would you sell your citizenship for $5 million? You know, it's enticing, and I'm sure other people would think so too.
Trump's so-called gold card program, visa program. You've heard about this? He's offering residency and a path to citizenship for $5 million. This is not an immigration policy. It's a fire sale. Citizenship is just another product on the shelf. I mean, why not tweak that program? Allow Americans to sell their citizenship for $5 million. Now that makes sense. Let struggling Americans get paid and move out of that country with their newfound millions. That's a program I could get behind. Imagine if, for instance, just say 10% of African Americans could sell their citizenship for $5 million each. That's roughly 5 million new millionaires, $25 trillion between them. You can get a Dominican citizenship for an investment of just $100,000. You could make the Dominican Republic $25 trillion richer overnight. You know, I'm just saying African Americans because they have the most obvious reasons for being interested in selling their citizenship, since they don't get much out of it in the first place. But if you offered a program like that in reality, well, I think that you'd see that country empty out. I mean, ask yourself, if you're an American, what would you rather have? American citizenship or $5 million? $5 million and the opportunity to get citizenship elsewhere.
AOD, that was his speech to Congress last night. Trump had a speech to Congress, and there was a lot of to do around it. Yeah, $5 million. I mean, you could kind of be set for life. I think you absolutely should be set for life with $5 million, and you can go anywhere you want, right? I mean, you could live cheaply on a million. You can put the other $4 in some kind of, you know, or maybe not all $4, but you can put some of it in an interest-bearing account and live off the interest, you know, like that. And maybe buy a few gold coins. It's an interesting idea. I like it. This was, speaking of the speech last night, there was a whole bunch of, there's all kinds of stuff going on around it. People, the Democrats came out and made a big huff supposedly about it. But, Alyssa Slotkin, who crafted the Democratic response, is a former CIA agent who was endorsed by Liz Cheney and worked in the Bush White House. She responded to Trump's joint address by praising Ronald Reagan. This is who the Democrats chose to represent their party. They don't oppose Republicans. They are Republicans. When are you going to understand that? That just because they tell you that they care about people, and they do that by saying, well, we like people with different skin colors and, gender identities. That masks the fact that all of their policies are basically Republican policies. Masks the fact that they never actually do anything for you at the end of the day, other than make you feel good about voting Democrat. Shoot, where do I want to go? But in the last, I won't go there. So this is why you should know. The Democrats aren't Democrats. Well, and this is also to know that the Trump orders swaths of U.S. forests to be cut down for timber. Okay, yeah, should get really up in arms about that. You should. If it takes Trump getting into office to make you pay attention to what's going on and and build up some opposition to what's going on, that might be a good thing. That's unintended blowback, possibly. President's move to expand tree cutting across 280 million acres evades rules to protect endangered species. Yeah, and this is we don't want this. Nobody wants this. He's doing it under the guise of protecting the forests, or fighting if they thin the trees, that fights forest fires. But this has been deemed false. The executive order is built on a lie, as Trump falsely claims that more logging will curb wildfires and protect communities, while the overwhelming weight of evidence shows exactly the opposite. Hansen said logging alters the microclimate of forests, creating hotter and drier conditions that helps wildfires, such as the events that recently ravaged Los Angeles. So listen. This is what you should know about. This is kind of the inside baseball on this subject. I'll just read this. This is a particularly horrific move by Trump to loot our public lands by handing the keys to big business. Yes, that's exactly what it is. The future of some of Americans' most prized forests now appears uncertain. Under Joe Biden, the U.S. committed to protecting the last fragments of old-growth forest, which contain some of the grandest and oldest trees on Earth. As trees soak up planet-heating carbon dioxide, protecting the oldest, most carbon-rich trees is seen as a way to help address the climate crisis. The former president also vowed to end deforestation by 2030. Sounds great. That's the way in which Democrats are like, yes, Joe Biden saving the forest. But wait, However, this is what you should need. This is why it's good to read the articles, for one thing. Read all the way through the articles, or at least past the headline or first paragraph. And then also read past the words, the very nice words. The Democrats always are full of very nice words and very caring and compassionate. We love everybody. However, the amount of logging in national forest surged under Biden amid a rush of tree felling ahead of expected restrictions on old growth cutting. So I don't know if this was because of the Biden administration's pledge to save the old growth forest or what. I don't know. But for whatever reason, they were like, well, before they do all this saving of the trees, let's cut us a bunch of trees. This is what the Biden administration did. So again, don't let the smooth taste fool you. Democrats, seriously, you actually got to work a little bit harder to see past the super cool, we care about you, verbiage that they're always throwing out there, and always, oh, we're passing the, protecting democracy. And what was the voting rights thing that they passed, which was actually a shoring up of the two-party system and actually made it harder for a third party to win. Like that was not, that was not that whole thing that they pushed out there, which kind of like it has Patriot Act vibes, right? Patriot Act was, sounds patriotic, but it actually was not patriotic because it actually carved, pushed back or carved away a lot of, already established human rights and legal rights for citizens, right? And people everywhere. Patriot Act was actually unpatriotic, right? So the whole Democrats, like, protecting our elections act was actually making our elections more unfair, making it more, harder for other people to challenge the two-party system, shoring up the two parties, the entrenched corporate two-party system that already is just basically one party, right? That's what that whole thing was about. But did anybody read the fine print? Hardly anybody read the fine print, especially on the left, I'm sure. They were just like, yeah, you go, Democrats. That's awesome. So cool. So cool. So cool to be a Democrat. I feel so much better, especially when I don't actually read what's going on, especially when I don't actually read past the headlines. Then it's really a fine day to be a Democrat. Anyways, they logged the heck out of the national forests of the Biden administration. And so, but would you know that? No, you wouldn't know that. Anyways, Trump killed off the executive order, which, was actually Biden halted the old growth protection plan in January. So before he left office, Biden said, nah, just kidding. Just kidding. But they had already logged a bunch of the forest in anticipation of this act. And then he was like, just kidding. Sweet. Anyways. Trump shifts. And so what, Trump is just going to do Trump things. And they're not good things. Among those things, he's, basically pushed out the idea that free speech is not free, especially if you basically, we can, they're going woke. The Trump administration is going woke because if you criticize Israel or if you are anti-Semitic in any way, then you might be actually a criminal, or they're going to treat you like you're a criminal. But wait, what? He said all federal funding will stop for any college, school, or university that allows illegal protests. What is illegal? A protest is what? Protected speech. It's not illegal. Agitators will be imprisoned or permanently sent back to the country from which they came. Say what? We're going to imprison people for protesting at colleges. I mean, I guess it's not something new. I mean, we've actually killed people who protested at college. That happened too. American students will be permanently expelled or, depending on the crime, arrested. No masks. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Boy. But this is all under the guise of appeasing our friends in the Middle East. Going South says 13 nations in the EU have prison sentences for speaking up to Israel. So sweet. We say we're not like the EU, but apparently we're exactly like them on this particular subject. So it's unconstitutional, illegal, anti-free speech. And do you see them expanding this to just regular, just everybody? They're talking about universities right now and students protesting at universities. But, how long before they expand this or extend this to any old buddy? My suggestion is that everybody say this so that they have to arrest everybody, right? If you have to, what do I mean by woke? I mean by I'm saying, you don't know what I mean by woke? By saying that, anti-Semitism is like hate speech, right? That's what I'm trying to tell you, right? Supposedly anti-Semitism. That's why you're not supposed to do the anti-Semitism, because it's like hate speech. And so, hate speech bad and all that stuff. That's woke. I guess what a lot of people would assume is woke, but there are a lot of definitions of the word woke, and we can actually go on and on about what woke actually means. I don't have the time right now, but that's what I mean by woke. Woke meaning an overextension of the properties of hate speech to include things that are actually protected by the First Amendment. But again, we can, that's a subject we can go on and on about. Kameshwari says, don't forget that Obama re-signed the NDAA on the last day of 2011 in the 11th hour. That authorizes non-judicial assassinations of U.S. Yep. Yep. Which is unpatriotic, and unconstitutional, and rolling back of rights. Anyways, it's the ultimate in 3-card Monty. It's the ultimate in not only did Trump go out on this limb, on this unconstitutional, illegal, unpatriotic limb, RFK Jr. got into the fray. and made a statement on anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism, like this is woke, right? This is, or I guess what people have translated. I think, obviously woke originally meant awake and or hip to what the man is trying to do, which is if you're woke, you can see through this, right? Like, I hope that we are all woke enough to see through this. Like, actually being woke is being able to identify what they're trying to, the shit they're trying to pull on people. They're trying to equate criticizing Israel's genocide as somehow racism, which it is not. Okay, that's not what it is. That's not what it is. So this is like, what people refer to as woke these days is something that has been twisted and to mean something else, which is, you can't criticize this group of people. You can't say something about this. You can't say words out of your mouth, blah, 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 like this, because it's bad speech, hate speech, wrong speech, thought crime, how dare you, how dare you say things like this? Which is what they're doing. They're pushing, they're putting out the idea like, oh my God, anti-Semitism, the anti-Semitism of it all. Anti-Semitism, like racism, is a spiritual and moral malady, right? Criticizing a genocide is a moral malady. That's what they're trying to tell you. That sickens societies and kills people with lethalities comparable to history's most deadly plagues. They got something on RFK Jr. real bad that he doesn't want them to release. That's why he's doing this, I'm sure. I don't know if he's, maybe he actually really believes this. It doesn't really matter because he's saying it out loud as a person who works in a government capacity. In recent years, well, anyways, lethality is comparable to history's most deadly plagues. Somehow that's how it ties into health. In recent years, the censorship and false narratives of woke cancel culture, this is what they're doing, is like, this is gaslighting 101, right? They're trying to make it seem like, the woke is the problem. People calling out Israel doing what they're doing is the woke. That's the problem. Woke cancel culture and false narratives have transformed our great universities into greenhouses for this deadly and virulent pestilence. So somehow wokeism is racism and anti-Semitism. If you can conjure that one up. Making America healthy means building communities of trust and mutual respect based on speech, freedom, and open debate. What? So he's talking about, that was good. Somehow he equated freedom of speech and debate and woke. He all of those things, he got into this message about how it's bad to be anti-Semitic, which also makes you a racist. A Semite actually is a Palestinian, is a Semite. Semites are from a particular part of the world, right? Isn't that correct? Let's look it up, shall we? Semitic people is a term for ethnic, cultural, or racial group associated with people of the Middle East, including Arabs, Jews, Akkadians, and Phoenicians. So anti-Semitic is also a misnomer because, right, that's how screwed up it is, because anti-Semitic is a misnomer, because what Israel is doing to the Palestinians is just off the charts anti-Semitism. But you can't say that about the Israelis because it's anti-Semitism. Ouch. It hurts to think about all of this because it's just so dumb. Anyways, that's what they're doing, and they're setting up a situation where they can, come get you, I guess, if you're saying the wrong words or committing the thought crimes. I feel like that's the next step. Don't you? The Israelites were black. Yeah. Anyways, this is weird stuff, don't you think? And Candace Owens has this to say about the Trump administration and their ties with it.
I think in terms of his speech was very good. I think Trump did a good job. Like I said, his energy is great. Do we all kind of recognize that there seems to be this never-ending Israel exception? Like it's America first, but like actually it's kind of Israel first. And so when we say like we're restoring free speech, obviously we're all thinking about the fact that actually there's like a carve out for Israel and always for whatever reason, like even the censorship on campuses. I'd like to know more about that. I only saw the tweet that he sent and said, we'll be stopping illegal protesting. Okay, fine. Everything illegal should be stopped. Things that are illegal are already illegal. So why do we need to make them more illegal? Or making it illegaler? What exactly do we mean when we say illegal protesting on college campuses are not going to receive federal funding anymore? I'd like to read the details because that's when I realized that Ron DeSantis was a sellout because he was making special laws for anti-Semitism. RFK Jr. is talking about making anti-Semitism a health crisis. So I don't trust the Trump administration thus far on the topic of Israel. I don't trust that they put American values ahead of their concern for this foreign country, which seems to have our nation occupied, because there's always an exception. And that's just the reality.
I mean, on this particular subject, Candace Owens is super woke. I like her take on this. And she's correct. And she said in the last sentence that this nation occupies our nation. And it's funny because for years, the right wing was always pushing this idea that Obama was part of the Muslim Brotherhood and like there was a secret, and maybe all that, there was some truth to some of that. I'm not sure, but I who knows? But there was some secret plot that, Islam or the Muslim Brotherhood or some secret society was going to take over the United States from the inside. But wait, there's actually a secret society or a society or a group of people and represented literally by another country that have taken over the U.S., that have taken over our interests, taken over apparently superseded our laws. Apparently they supersede everything. Like they can create laws, they can create unconstitutional laws, they can create, laws that don't make any sense whatsoever. And somehow people have to sign, BDS laws in many states if they want to get hired. The woke jokes are pretty good. Anyways. Yeah, Schulte. Yeah. I mean, they're trying to cut Medicare and Social Security again. I don't see, I mean, sure, they want to do that. And that is probably one of the things that they're going to try to do. They're going to have a better chance doing that if the economy collapses. right? If there's a huge recession collapse and they're just like, well, guys, here we are, if they do that pre that, I feel like they're just inviting some serious blowback, because although it seems like Americans can take a lot and just sit around and keep taking it. It seems like Americans are pretty good at just accepting like whatever happens and going like, all right, I guess that's cool. I mean, we seem to excel at just being like, well, all right, well, I guess it's just how it's going to be then. So we'll see, if they start cutting Medicare and Social Security, let's see, we'll see how people respond. I think they should know how upset people might be by that. But I feel like they would have a better chance of doing that kind of stuff if there was just a serious meltdown of the economy, and their emergency measures and executive orders, and we got to do this and put a digital, something in place, and we're going to give people a lifeline, and we're going to start giving people the UBI payments that they gave people in during COVID, right? Like, get people through, and but it's going to be tied to this, and yeah, we're gonna, Social Security is insolvent, so is Medicare. Sorry, guys, that's going to have to go. Like, they'd probably have a better chance of doing that in an emergency. And so there are some pretty good jokes going on in the chat. But we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. I mean, it doesn't feel very good, right? This is from Max Blumenthal. Apparently the U.S. is holding secret talks with Hamas on Gaza hostages. Apparently, and Israel found out about it. Israel learned of aspects of the talks through other channels. And Max says, so Israel is spying on the Trump administration and leaking its sensitive diplomatic moves to the press. But, does Trump have any wherewithal or agency to oh, sorry, you guys can't see that. What are they going to do about it? Hold on one second. Let's see if we can find the part of Trump talking about Medicare. I mean, everything that he's saying is is laying a groundwork, just like Canada, Greenland, all these things that he's trying to do. He's putting this stuff out there to see if it's going to fly, to see what the reaction is, to see, to lay the groundwork for, well, we said we might have to do this. Hold on one second. Let's see if we can find something here. No, I don't know. I don't know about that. I mean, I was reading the news about the latest budget, and that they weren't going to, there wasn't not going to be any cuts to Social Security or Medicare. But here's this: Trump blindsides staff, Congress with conflicting Medicaid messages. Republicans are getting worried about how much they'll have to cut from popular health safety net programs and whether the president will protect them from political blowback. Blowback being the thing that they should worry about. I can't find the part of the speech though. If anybody has it, if anybody has a part of the speech where he talked about Medicare, I would like to hear it. So I don't know, guys. I'm seeing conflicting messages about it. Well, I'll try and do some digging, but try and do some digging into what's actually happening with Medicare and Social Security. But they've all been signaling that for years and years. Actually, Biden increased the cost of Medicare Plus. So he made Medicare more expensive for people who wanted like the full coverage thing, which is not free. You have to pay for it out of your Social Security, which takes money out of the elderly's pocket, which is basically like cutting Social Security. Biden did that, which leaves the door open for Trump doing that. And I'm sure he's going to try. Free the U.S. of AIPAC. Indeed. Where is the platform for that? Where are the protests with that being the specific, condition of demand? The AIPAC leave. How's that for, how do you think that would be taken by the Trump administration? You think that would be labeled anti-Semitic? You think that would be labeled an illegal protest? Anyways, man, it's weird and woolly times out there. Yeah. The thing is that if there's just a huge meltdown or another crisis, right, a la COVID, whatever, that's the time when it's really going to be hard for people to really, zero in or do anything about, right? There's a crisis going on. My God, guys, we've got to do something about this, and we're gonna, they're gonna shove things through Congress in a week. And everybody's going to be reeling and like, what happened? What does this mean? I mean, the CARES Act, who could say anything about anything? The CARES Act was passed unanimously pretty much, even though Bernie Sanders was like, this is ridiculous. They just walked it on through. And it took, people months to realize like, oh, hey, wait. They just gave all this money to all the wealthy people, and they gave us a couple, $100 a week, which is great. But so I don't know, it could be that, yeah, he could be trying to tank the economy. Like maybe the tariffs are a direct attempt to drive things into the ground. It definitely seems to be driving the stock market into the ground. Even though the claims of these moves are that it's a long-term, it's a long-term, will have long-term effects, short-term pain and long-term benefits. That's the claim. But it doesn't really matter if the short-term pain just turns out to be way too painful. Well then. All right. Well, that's about that, guys. I'm gonna have to wrap up. And we'll do this all again tomorrow at the regular time. Thanks for tuning in, guys. If you want to support the show, you know the deal. There's lots of links in the description box. If you like the show coming to you for free, Monday through Friday, and you like what you get from the show as far as information and or chattertainment, I just made that up, and I don't know if that's any good at all. But yeah, if you want to see this show continue to come to you, then a really good way to do that is support the show via the links below. All the usuals are there: PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, Zelle, Buy Me a Coffee, Ko-Fi, Patreon, etc. And I suppose once we start doing Substack, you can also subscribe for a monthly donation on Substack. I don't even know if I need to set those. I have done barely anything with Substack, but I will go in and see if I can set up some subscription tiers for the people that might want to subscribe on Substack, which, you know, seems to be a thing that people do. All right. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for being here. I'm going to see you tomorrow at the same time. And we'll do it. We'll do it like we do. All right, y'all. Thank you. And until next time, peace.